Hi friends, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Mel and among other things, I'm a storyteller, illustrator and fairy tale fancier from Melbourne, Australia. Today I'll be sharing some of the behind the scenes magic of the making of this painting, A World of Octobers. Let me take you on an adventure behind the curtain. You'll get an insight into the artistic mindset, and if you're a fellow creative, you might find a few handy hints and tips to hone your own artistic skills and processes. I'm going to tell you a quilted story, a story about great art, about the changing of the seasons, about a girl called Anne, and to tie it all together, a magical little word the Germans call fernweh. Brew yourself a cup of something warm and cozy, friends, and let's jump in. When I'm creating an illustration, there are 6 main phases: intention, immersion, ideation, drafting, underpainting, and detailing. So step 1, intention. Every new illustration for me is an opportunity to add to my arsenal, to level up my skills and to learn something new. I always try to have around 3 discrete goals per painting. For this illustration, I wanted to develop a signature palette and mood for my Maud of Moss Forest universe. My intention is that it be a place of femininity, softness, of quiet moments, connecting with nature. Phase 2 is immersion. When I set out to understand a concept better, I immerse myself in it. This might be as simple as arranging all my green pencils into subgroups, or creating 3 variations on a palette. I might leave my palettes and pencils lying on my desk, so that's the first thing I see in the morning. I might save screenshots of swishing skirts or autumn leaves onto my phone as a screensaver. These are all subtle ways to subliminally focus my brain towards a particular mood, shape language, or palette. Next up, phase 3, ideation. This is where I collect, collate, and curate imagery and ideas around a particular moment within a broader theme. For this piece, I wanted to create a mood of sweetness, a quiet morning moment in nature. I collected lots of images of young women wearing cottagecore dresses so I could get a sense of the way that fabric moves with a body in it. Wow, that sounds sinister. I mean, a living body, of course, and one with a ballerina-like feminine shape language. I also gathered lots of images of trees, country lanes, and fields. This allowed me to understand what depth of field I wanted. It also allowed me to develop a sense of shape language regarding the trees and how I could create a point of contrast with the human figure being central to the composition. After ideation comes part 4, drafting. This might take many iterations to properly address the goals I set for myself. Once the sketch is fully resolved and I've got all my lines just where I want them, comes phase 5, underpainting. I love using Copics for this. The colour is vibrant, ready-made, and I don't have to worry about mixing unless I want to. Unfortunately, part of the footage for the Copic stage was corrupted and lost forever. Don't worry, I'll have plenty more opportunities to share that part of my process with you in upcoming videos. And phase 5 brings us up to speed. We're at the final stage, detailing. I do this with coloured pencils. My favourite brands are the Caran Pablo series and Polychromos by Faber Castell. I find them exactly the right mix of soft and buttery, and as I work on subtly textured watercolour paper, the overall effect is very soft and dreamy. Perfect for someone like me who can easily get bogged down in too much detail. As you might have seen earlier, I tested out a few different palettes before committing to this final one with greens. Purples and blues are among some of my personal favourite colours to wear and live with. I created a composition using very dusty cool tones, and though it looked dreamy and feminine, I didn't feel it suited the mood of this scene. The trees and presence of bounding bunnies suggest early autumn to me, which in turn makes me think of Rossetti redheads, and of course that's the version my brain tells me this painting must be. One of my key intentions was to incorporate more earthy tones into my palette and a good mixture of earthy reds, mustards, and some cooler greens to experiment with optical vibration. All of that seemed like a solid way to build upon my skills with colour. Colour can be such a powerful key to unlocking memories. When I think about red, I think about apples. And when I think about apples, I think equally of Anne of Green Gables and After Apple Picking by Robert Frost. One was a poignant punctuation mark in my childhood, and the other reminds me of it and of some of the earthly joys that still wait for me as I grow older. All of the fairy tales I loved best as a child took place somewhere very far away from Australia. The changing of the seasons has always made me feel a little wistful and disjointed. When Anne says, "I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers," I know she means the onset of autumn. Here, that transition happens in March and April, but the thing that happens also at that time is Easter, the celebration of spring and new beginnings. You can see this all gets a bit confusing. Until that is, I learned about the German word fernweh. It translates to fernweh. It is an ache for far-flung places. It's not wanderlust as such, which implies something perhaps more curious and fickle. It's deep-seated and an almost biological need, like homesickness, where we yearn for the familiar. Fernweh is distant sickness, a deep longing for places far beyond our doorstep. It is early spring here in Australia. The cherry blossoms are out, everything is resplendently green and beautiful, and yet I am daydreaming for something on the other side of the world. There is always a little pain this time of year, for mighty oaks turned russet, for glorious redheads and opportunistic bunnies in a frosty field, for the crackle of leaves underfoot, for toasty fires and warm drinks. So yes, I too am glad of a world with Octobers, even though I can only enjoy them truly properly, vicariously. Thank you so much for joining me again on this art adventure, friends. Let me know in the comments which part of the transformation was your favourite. If you enjoyed yourself today, make sure you subscribe. More stories are in the making already. I hope you find time this week to nourish your creativity and to chase your curiosity. Maybe you'll read a book from your childhood. Maybe you'll eat something that smells delicious. Maybe you'll treat yourself to some new colour pencils. Whatever you do, I wish you all good things on your journey. Till next time, friends.